to give us everything we need to know. Ladies and gentlemen, senior NBA insider for ESPN, friend of the program, Charania.
Yeah, Shabby!
Pat, congrats to your Hoosiers. And I know Boston Connor's got a big weekend with the Pats, so best of luck to him as well.
Well, thank you for that. The state of Indiana is certainly pumped. I was very thankful that the Hoosiers got a win. Obviously, the house is much happier whenever they're doing that, and it's great for the state. Connor actually picked the Hoosiers as his college team like last year, so not only does he have a national championship in his short college football fanhood, but now he's got a chance to have the Patriots all the way back. It's a wild time to be Connor, and I want to let you know, we do appreciate the aura he is radiating, Shams.
Listen, if you would have told me that IU would win a national championship in football, I did not expect them to ever be a football school. So shout out to the Hoosiers.
Hell yeah, shout out to
Mark Cuban.
Yeah, and Mark Cuban, and also Yorkman, I believe, who's the head of Cook Medical Group down there in Bloomington. There's like a lot of NIL people. Cuban certainly a part of that. Cuban, not the biggest. I don't think he's ever said that he's the biggest donor to the NIL. He has certainly helped. There are others. Indiana's got a lot of people that are pumped about Cignetti and the Hoosiers. Anyways, and their basketball team. Anyways, let's move to your sport, shall we, in the NBA. We talk about Connor having the Hoosiers win and maybe the Patriots win. Are the Celtics once again dominant? Like, who are the teams that are doing well this season that we need to maybe think about as we look ahead to post-football season?
The Celtics definitely, they've surprised everyone. You have to give Jaylen Brown a lot of credit. You think about MVP candidates, he has to be up there. His game, he's going to be an all-NBA player. He's already voted an all-star starter. So, what he's been able to do to propel this team to being a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference without Jason Tatum. And we'll see if and when Jason Tatum, exactly when he comes back the second half of this NBA season. But, when I look at the Eastern Conference, I think of Boston. I think of Detroit. You have to still put New York in there, even though they've had this lull over the last 12, 13 games where I think they've lost 9 of the last 12 games. Cleveland still has some talent. Philadelphia's come on pretty strong. So those are really the teams. But the East is wide open. Detroit has been far and away the best team in that conference so far from a regular season perspective. But you look at what Boston has. They've got the talent. They've done it before. So you have to put them up there. And then I think you look at this trade deadline, right, Pat? So I think, as the schedule's starting to turn here, I think hopefully, we're going to be having a lot more chatting coming up because trade deadline is less than 2 weeks away. And Boston could be a team where going into the year, it's like, okay, are they going to shed some salary? We know they shed Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday last offseason. Who else will they shed in season? Will it be Anthony Simons? Will it be, another Peyton Pritchard? But those guys are essential parts of this team. I could see Boston going the other way and maybe adding a player, maybe adding another big man. Like they've been in the marketplace trying to go get a big-time starting center potentially. So they're going to be, I think, aggressive in moving the needle. They've got assets. They've got contracts to use and play with. In the Western Conference, Oklahoma City, I said it early in the year, it's Oklahoma City and then it's everyone else in the NBA. Like Oklahoma City right now even though Jalen Williams, a.k.a. J-Dub, he started the year out, and now he came back, then he got hurt again. But this team is a machine. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander right now is a leader for MVP. But then San Antonio, they had a stretch within 2 weeks where they beat Oklahoma City 3 times. So San Antonio's shown they've got the pieces and the parts to give Oklahoma City real problems. And we know Victor Wembanyama loves to go up against not only Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but Chet Holmgren as well. So you have to put San Antonio in there. Denver, you have to put in there. They're the 3rd seed right now. I think 30-15. They were the 3rd seed when Nikola Jokic got hurt a month ago. And a lot of people around the league are like, this is a team that's going to fall into the play-in. They're gonna become a wild card type team, but they're still in that 3rd position. They've been able to do more than enough without Jokic in the lineup to keep their heads above water. And then we see the standings there. Houston, I think after you get by Oklahoma City and San Antonio and Denver, you have like that second tier of teams that's like Houston, the Lakers, Minnesota you have to put up there. They've been in the conference finals the last 2 years. And then Phoenix, like shout out the Suns. They lose Kevin Durant and they're a team that's now fighting hard, even though they can be without Devin Booker. They can be without this guy, but they hired a new coach, Jordan Ott, there that's been able to change the entire foundation and the culture there. So you have to give them a lot of credit. And then the 2 hottest teams in the NBA right now, Portland and the Clippers. And so the Western Conference is absolutely loaded.
Okay, so those are the teams that we'll be looking forward to make a run and maybe make a move at the trade deadline less than 2 weeks away, which we appreciate. Congrats to the Celtics being buyers and not sellers. And Tatum potentially coming back, which is absurd to think about after he tears an Achilles in the playoffs last year. So congrats to Boston, okay, having New England in the AFC Championship and then also having the Celtics in what was supposed to be a down year and an up year trade deadline. Let's talk about it as you your connection comes unstable. Feels like somebody's trying to throttle you a little bit.
Missoula.
They know what I'm bringing up here. They know what I'm about to bring up here. Trade deadline. Any big names that we should think about? Giannis, for instance. So you have been on our show for a long time. I remember Pacers in the finals talking about this. I remember in the offseason talking about this. Big thing for me is it has seemingly been that Giannis's team, business people, around him, have certainly been wondering if Giannis and his time at the Bucks should come to an end and maybe he has a chance to win a championship or relevancy or anything like that somewhere else. Giannis seemingly has not loved that you've been messaging that publicly. Now, you as an insider are only saying this because your credibility relies upon it, your legacy relies upon it, and also you're new in this business, so you can't be wrong. You have very reliable sources to be saying what you are saying. Giannis has come out publicly and said, to hell with this ain't it, because I don't think Giannis wants to piss off the entire city, doesn't want to piss off the organization. He wants to be kind of a hero, but maybe also understands, like if I was to go somewhere else, there'd be a whole new career potentially sitting for me, which could benefit me publicly. Am I accurately depicting that? And are we anywhere near an end to this entire story as the trade deadline looms with the Greek freak?
I mean, the totality of, and we see right there, the timestamp. And Giannis and the Bucks, they've been having ongoing conversations about his future, even going back to May. Those conversations have just every single passing week, every passing month since May, when I first reported that he is exploring his best fits outside of Milwaukee for really the first time, and really getting down to which team he would want to go to, where he would want to be. Those conversations have only grown with every passing week and month since May. And recently, the Bucks and Giannis's conversations have intensified in nature, because we saw Pat, he made some comments after their game on Wednesday. They've had some big blowout losses recently, and they got blown out on our airwaves at ESPN against Oklahoma City Thunder. They lost another blowout game, and he came out and absolutely went off on his team. Like, these are very uncharacteristic comments from Giannis Antetokounmpo. We know, Pat, also about 2 weeks ago, the fans in Milwaukee were booing him and the team when they were playing, and he booed them back, as we saw in that clip right there. That is also something we have not seen from Giannis and the Bucks fans, is the booing. And so his comments after the game, the frustration that Giannis Antetokounmpo has is at an all-time high. He's frustrated with the losing. He's frustrated with the situation. And I will say this, I've spoken to about a dozen sources on and off for weeks now. And the tension that's in the air within that organization, in that locker room, it's at an all-time high. And there's a somewhat of a splintering environment that we're seeing going on there, because when a player of Giannis's caliber is maybe has a wandering eye, or maybe doesn't know what his future holds there, and is having these intense conversations with the organization about what that looks like, there's going to be such high levels and degrees of uncertainty within that organization. And all of this is to me, it's been going on all year, but I just think back to the summer. Late July, Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks general manager, John Horst, are meeting face to face. And John Horst is in the Bucks, and Doc Rivers and ownership, they're selling Giannis Antetokounmpo and competing for a championship. Like, we have a title contending roster. And Giannis makes it very clear that he has concerns, he has issues with the roster, that he maybe doesn't believe that this is a truly contending team. And that leads to conversations with the Knicks. That's a preferred destination that he had in the offseason. Those two teams spoke. There were offers made. Obviously, there was no deal that happened. The Bucks end up signing his brother Thanasis. He ends up committing to the season, and he ends up starting the year there. And so everything about Giannis's brand has been loyalty. He spent 13 years in Milwaukee. It's clear he loves the city. He loves the organization. But what I've been hearing over and over for months now is that the writing is on the wall for Giannis and the Bucks. It's just, how do they get there? When do they get there? And really, when is either side ready to step up to the plate and have that level of understanding? Or will it continue to live in this nebulous state where, will they or won't they? Will he or won't he? Nebulous. And that has a direct impact on the team and how the performance is and just the level of the air. And so everything that happened in the summer, everything that I reported, that is all just a backdrop to what we're seeing play out now in real time. The only difference with what was going on in the summer and right now is it's all happening in everyone's public domain because there are games to be played. This is a team that's 18-25. They're in 11th place in the Eastern Conference. If the season ended today, they would not even be a play-in team or a playoff team.
Oh, they're booty.
Jeez.
These guys
That
booty.
is way out of the realm of what Giannis wants from this team. And so we're seeing all of the frustrations, all of the feelings all play out in real time.
It's like they're like, with the Greek freak, they're like Greek yogurt ass.
Yeah.
You know, like that's crazy that that's what they are right now. And obviously he's not happy. Nebulous, it's an adjective meaning hazy, vague, or indistinct. So kind of a purgatory situation between the Bucks and Giannis. And you talked about Giannis's brand is like loyalty. And obviously he loves the city and brought a title there, has brought a lot of success there. We had a similar situation in football where it was like Russell Wilson and then team 3. There was like team 3 was reporting things or leaking things. And then Russell Wilson was like, kind of what they're saying. It's like, because Russell Wilson loved Seattle as well. Russell Wilson loved the Seahawks. Russell Wilson wanted people, hey, good guy. Russell Wilson, consummate movie-like character of a football player. So you never want to be associated with that. For some reason, there's a negative connotation potentially. But team 3, though, was like, yeah, but we're here to think about him. Okay, and what we think is this. Feels like you've been potentially talking to Team Freak, okay? Potentially Team Freak. Yeah.
Pat, I'll be honest. This is now reaching different levels because, maybe in the offseason, you have to really trust your sourcing and trust you're getting it from people and things like that. But this is now happening in real time with the Bucks. Like there are games being played. There are pre-games, there are post-games, there are in-game environments that are going on right now that, maybe it is a lot more sheltered in the off-season, right? Where it is very much between player and agent and team. But as the season continues to go on, there's frustration that happens, there's conversations that take place. And the reality is when you have a star player who is, Giannis is the one that said on Monday, on MLK Day, he was asked, are you going to do you have confidence you're going to be with the Bucks for the rest of the season? His response was, I don't know. I take it day by day. Now, I'll be honest, how that's interpreted to everyone around the league and everyone in that locker room is not a sign of full investment. That's just the reality of the situation.
Do you feel vindication here? Because I assume the Bucks people, because that was part of some of your mentions, because you said this stuff on our show.
I'm sure they wanted to do some very, very mean and harsh things to me all summer when I was reporting.
Yeah, they were saying mean stuff to you, Sean. But what you are saying now is it seems like the rest of the world is kind of seeing what you've been kind of told since May, seemingly, is kind of how this whole thing was going. And it's crazy if this ends in a super negative way, because for me, it feels like Giannis has only been good for the NBA in my eyes. Just learning his documentary, learning his story, where he played in Greece, obviously bringing his brother along, what all he's been able to do for the city, how committed he is, how much better he's gotten at basketball since getting into the NBA. So it's like, we obviously think nothing but positive things, but you get him to, where would he go? Because New York, I think you reported, was the only team that was very interested.
New York was his preferred. So think about it, right? If the New York Knicks and the Milwaukee Bucks are having trade conversations in August, what is leading to that, right? Like just if people just look at it, just like think about that, right? And so the Knicks were a team in the offseason where it was made clear to all parties, whether it's the Knicks, whether it was the Bucks, whether it was people around the Giannis situation, that was a spot, that was a preferred destination. But obviously, no deal happened. There were offers made. The Knicks made offers. The Bucks obviously didn't feel like, it was two sides of the coin, right? On one side, the Knicks felt that the Bucks were never serious about trading Giannis in the offseason. And then the Bucks side, there were people there that were like, there were never offers that were really serious enough for us to really even consider. Like, there weren't offers made to the level that made sense for us to even think about it. And so there's two different sides of that story. Either way, it ended in no trade. But the reality was, all summer, Giannis, he didn't want a gap year. This is a player that's 31 years old. He's a two-time MVP. He won a championship in 2021. He's been on the record. He's made it very, very, very clear. I want to compete and win a second NBA championship. That level of competitiveness and window looks like it has run its course in Milwaukee potentially. At least that's what he feels. That's what the concerns that he shared with the Bucks. The Bucks, on the other hand, felt like they had a roster and a team, and still do, apparently, that can compete for a championship and can go compete with Giannis and win a championship there. And so, you have two differing kind of opinions or two different kind of takes on where this organization might be at. And so he was sold on competing for a championship. That obviously, where they're at right now with the record, that isn't what has transpired. And so that's why you're seeing the frustration. That's why you're seeing the conversations continue to intensify, and something that we could very well see play out over the next 2 weeks. The Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo have major decisions to make these next 2 weeks. That part is abundantly clear to everyone in the NBA.
Yeah, and the nebulousity of it all is just kind of part of the problem. If we could get out of the nebulousness and maybe just address the elephant in the room, and, maybe address the tension head on, then we'll be able to get past it. And what that looks like, we'll see, I guess. But then we'll no longer be nebulying. And
that's true.
I think that's a big part of it all. So good luck to the Bucks and good luck to Giannis. Here's another storyline that's seemingly brewing in your world and will never stop. Go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, Shams, Pat's talking about the Lakers. I know there's some drama there. Rich Paul goes on his podcast, gives his opinion on what he thinks the direction of the franchise should be. I guess what's going on there with LeBron, Jeanie bust, the whole situation. How do they figure all this out?
Yeah, Rich Paul. I think everyone with the Lakers feels Rich Paul is, I guess, entitled to however he wants. He's got his own podcast. He can say what he wants. Now, there's no doubt, like Austin Reeves, his camp, how they might feel about the comments. They made that clear. Dave McMenamin put out a story a few weeks ago saying one of Austin Reeves' agent approached Rich Paul, had a, really, I think a good conversation with Rich Paul about where things are at. I actually saw that take place in front of me. It was a very respectful conversation. It's two people that have known each other for years. But the reality is here, what we're having right now, this is an end of a relationship, right? In terms of LeBron James and the Lakers. Now, whether it comes at the end of this season, if LeBron James decides as a free agent to sign somewhere else, or if he decides to retire, or he decides to come back for one more year and, decide that he wants to retire as a Laker. Like, the end is near with this relationship, either however you want to slice it. And so the end, there's always seems to be some sort of storyline with that, and it can be unceremonious at different points. We've seen fallouts the Lakers have had, whether it's Jerry West, rest in peace. He had a falling out with Jeanie Buss to an extent, and so at the end of the day, I think LeBron James, when he made his comments last night, he was very succinct. I mean, he's someone who's 41 years old. He spends most of his time playing golf. I don't think he cares much for really anything that goes on with basketball, other than him playing in games and trying to win on a nightly basis. I think he's got other things on his mind right now. That's the reality of the situation. But before LeBron got to the Lakers, this was a team that was a lottery team. LeBron James goes there, they win a championship. This is, I think, his 8th season there, and so we'll see how much longer he wants to play. But this is a Lakers team with Luka Doncic that wants to compete for a championship. But how do they get there? Do they make moves to get there as well? These are all questions going into the trade deadline.
LeBron's still playing after this season? It sounded like you kind of left it open for interpretation. And then I think you said Lakers as well, if he was to play. Is there a chance free agency? LeBron's playing somewhere else next year?
No.
I don't think LeBron James knows right now, January 23rd, 1:41 p.m. Eastern time, what he wants to do with the rest of his career. Like, I think there are multiple pathways that this could play out. Now, it's made a lot of sense to people that he's in year 23, his number's 23, in Los Angeles. The All-Star Game is in Los Angeles. Could this be the year?
Come on.
But, maybe it's in part because of how this season's going with the Lakers, how the relationship has gone with the Lakers over the last year and a half. You can see they've clearly turned the page. Like, Luka Doncic is this team's franchise cornerstone. Luka Doncic is where this team is going. And I mean, that's understandable to everyone, especially LeBron James, but how he wants the end of his career to play out. Does he want to retire a Laker? Does he want to retire somewhere else next season? Or does he just want to retire, period? Those are all questions that he's going to have and things that he's going to have to answer. But on what time, it's going to be on his time.
Okay, excited to find out what that is. We're always on Bron Watch.
Always. Yeah, we are.
Ever since the LeBron conversation, I feel like I know him a little bit better.
Yeah.
It feels like we know him a little bit better. Feels like he's earned the right to do whatever the hell he wants.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what everybody's saying is he is doing whatever the hell he wants. Enough of it.
It's too much.
Rich Paul, good news. New podcast dropping today.
Okay. Pumped.
Yeah, Rich Paul's got a new podcast.
Good show.
I feel like he's probably going to address everything in his own way. Rich Paul has done a lot of really good business with the NBA. Now his name's getting brought up a lot. Now he's got a podcast as well to kind of answer things, so there isn't like, oh, Rich is doing this, Clutch is doing this. I called him this morning, and I asked him, I'm like, hey, you pissed everybody off. What's going on? It feels like everybody's talking about it or whatever. And he goes, I got another podcast dropping today. I'm like, okay, so we're still doing a podcast. Okay, so we got one coming today. Rich Paul has been very good to us. I think he has done a lot of good for a lot of different cities and a lot of different places, but certainly having a podcast and being a pundit as well as an agent and an insider, it is an interesting thing to have. He's got the people talking, though.
Yes, he does.
He's got the people talking. People be talking.
Talking
About people. All right, last headline we need to address. Go ahead, Con Man.
Yeah, Sean's not sure if he is a Rich Paul guy, but Ja Morant has been in the news. I believe he requested a trade 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then last week they said, hey, I don't want to trade. What is kind of the situation with Ja in the Grizzlies and then staying with that team? You've mentioned a big man being available for trade. It feels like Jaren Jackson Jr. is that guy, and he is also with Memphis. Are they going to sell everything, completely restart this thing, or what's the deal with the Grizzlies right now?
Right now, the focus around the league with the Grizzlies is Ja Morant, because that's the player that they are openly entertaining offers. They're taking calls, they're getting calls, they're taking offers in. This is a situation where there hasn't been a formal trade request to my knowledge, but it is something that I think could both sides be ready for a fresh start. My understanding is yes, that is the case, that this is something that does go both ways. But how does that play out? Ja Morant, Trae Young got traded. He was the first big blockbuster deal of this trade season, and that happened in the way it happened and the timeliness of it. He has 1 year left on his deal, player option for next year. And so the return that Atlanta got was just salaries. The difference between Ja Morant and Trae Young is Ja Morant's got 3 seasons left on his deal. Like, this is a player that's under team control for the long term. So Memphis, if they want to keep him, they don't get offers that they feel are satisfiable, they could keep him certainly after the deadline. But I think there is a level of motivation, and the calls are incoming to the Grizzlies. My understanding is there's multiple teams interested, making offers, and then from there, the Grizzlies are going to have to sift all of them out, and then they could go multiple pathways after that. Do you continue to build your organization? Jaren Jackson is a piece that has, a ton of value on the marketplace. I think there are several teams that would throw multiple picks, multiple swaps, like the kitchen sink at a guy like Jaren Jackson, because he can play the 4, the 5, he can defend, he can shoot. Yeah. He's a Defensive Player of the Year award winner. Like, he's so versatile. But the Grizzlies view him as a player where if they move Ja Morant and you have a young team with Jaren Jackson, you can move forward. If there's someone that completely blows them away, I think that is something you have to take a look at too if you're the Grizzlies. But I think the first piece of this all is going to be what happens with Ja Morant's future. You think about Giannis hovers around all these guys, but whether it's Ja Morant, whether it's a Domantas Sabonis, whether it's an Anthony Davis, a Michael Porter Jr., these are all players that are big names that could have a big swing on what the NBA looks like in the second half of the season.
Okay, you said a lot of names. You didn't say one big name in our eyes. And Ty Schmidt is at home dadding right now. We will see him on Monday. Sitting in for him, Bone has the last question for you.
What's up, Shams? It wouldn't be a Shams appearance if we didn't ask an update about Zion Williamson. Is he still just crushing it for New Orleans? Last time I checked, he was putting up massive numbers for the team.
Way to go, Bone! Ty would be proud of that.
This is the Zion show, though. If we're not giving a Zion update on this show before or after me coming on, like, come on, we're not doing it right. Zion Williamson is playing basketball in the New Orleans Pelicans. Record-wise, I can't say they're having a great season.
They're shite.
But listen, I think there's going to be a level of interest in Zion Williamson. Do the Pelicans want to move him? Do they want to stand firm? I think there's still questions around where his long-term future is there. But I think right now the Pelicans are taking a lot of calls, and he's someone that he just needs to stack games. He just needs to play in games.
They need to let him play. They need to let him play. Maybe come to the Pacers. Coach Carlisle would love that.
That'd be perfect.
As we keep rolling it forward. Shams, we appreciate you. Basketball season's about to happen for us. We'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Shams Charania.
Hey,